Yo, guys, what's up, and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 156. Tonight on the cast is myself, Finto, and Alex, aka Zibberwolf. We're going to be talking about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man episodes 3, 4, and 5, which just aired today. So, slight spoiler warning for that. We're also going to be talking about the Fantastic Four trailer that released yesterday and lots of other news in between. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, leave a like on the video on your way out, and if you're watching us on a replay, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think. Without further ado, here we go. Yo, what's up?
Hey,
How are you, dude? Munch it during the intro. I like it. I like it. I respect it. How are you, bro?
I'm hungry.
It's only like 2 o'clock for you right now, is it? 2:30? Yeah, so it's like
Yeah.
lunchtime. It's 10:30 at night for me. So I'm getting ready to go to bed after this. So yeah, you gotta love time zones, eh?
Yeah, we had a lot of work today. There was quite a bit of troubleshooting as well, like with a different team and whatnot. So like it took up a lot of our time. And by that time, I was like just drained, and all I wanted to do during my break was like take a quick nap.
Been there.
So then and I got up and I wasn't hungry then, but by the end of the shift, I'm like, all right, I'm getting really hungry, and I knew we were supposed to get on.
Yeah. There's days where I've been working from home and I'll literally go downstairs. Our couches are like recliners. I'll recline on the couch downstairs. I'll set my alarm for like 2 o'clock or whatever if I take my lunch at 1, and I'll literally just sleep. I'll take a quick nap and then just go back to work. Yeah. Been there, bro. Doing it all, like if I'm on a client site though, obviously I can't be doing that. But that's one of my fears, man. One of my fears, because like there's one client site that I go to and I have my own office, and it's like behind a closed door. So like I could literally, there's some days where it's really cold outside. You have the heater on. It's like real cozy and warm. I'm just thinking like there's days where I could fall asleep here. It's like one of my fears. So I'm like trying hard not to do that.
Dude, sometimes I accidentally sleep in a little bit, and I know that's a fucked up situation because I'm like, if I end up falling asleep at a point where it's like a crucial, like something happens,
Mm-hmm.
and like,
where are you?
yeah, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. Been there too. Shout out to anybody who's here in the chat live. If you're checking us out on a replay, as I said, just like give us a comment below. Let us know what you think. We got a good bit to go through tonight. Obviously, we have Spidey. There's 3 new episodes that came out today. I know you haven't seen all of them, but we'll kind of just go through it as much as we can. Maybe you can kind of tell me what you've seen, and because I kind of watched all 3 of them, but back to back, so they've all kind of mashed into one kind of thing for me. So maybe you can lead that one. We'll talk about the Fantastic Four trailer. There's a reaction up on the channel as well. I kind of live reacted to it last night, so you can check that out if you want on the channel as well. Then there's kind of some other MCU news, some bit involving Kang, a few other bits as well. So yeah, let's just dip straight in, I suppose. We'll cover Spidey first and then move on from there, I suppose. So
Okay.
Spidey, there was 3 episodes released today. I think they're about 30 minutes each, including credits, so probably about 23 minutes without. What did you think? How are you liking the show so far?
It's great so far. I'm really enjoying the fact that they're like really delving into different characters' perspectives. It's not just all Spider-Man, because like that's kind of how you really create the atmosphere or the setting for the environment, is by giving everyone else some breathing room, give them something, give other people something to chew on, because we all know Spider-Man, we all know who he is and what he represents.
Yeah.
But like it's so cool seeing like, Nico, you see Lonnie, you see like his family, and that whole situation of like him and his family and his brother, like, kind of going into crime a bit, which I love the setup for, because like now it makes sense as to how he's going to become more in line with being a villain in the long run, because like he's being forced to do so, which I think is such a cool concept. Like,
yeah,
it's not his fault, but because he's trying to keep his brother out of it, like he's saving someone, so he's being a hero. But it's like Harvey Dent. It's like, you die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. So like,
yeah,
it's gonna end up turning that way, and it's so cool.
Yeah,
And
I got real Hunger Games vibes off it, like, where the little sister is
yeah,
like, and then she's like, what did she say? There's what's that famous line she has in it? It's like, I volunteer or whatever.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I volunteer as tribute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the first thing that popped into my head when all that was happening. Um, really cool, really cool. And again, you kind of I had forgotten what Tombstone's real name was, but you kind of called it out last week on the podcast, and I was like, oh my god, how did I miss that? And I think as well, it's just because anytime that I've seen Tombstone, he's already kind of changed.
Mhm.
So I've never kind of seen him in human form or whatever you want to call it. So, and the fact that like obviously he's very different looking in this show as well. So that kind of just threw me off. I didn't think about Tombstone when I was watching the origin, which I think is great because it's just like a completely fresh spin on it. And again, multiverse, so anything's possible. Who cares? Let's just
Right.
go for it. Which is
Exactly.
great. It's cool to see.
Well, and when you think about it, like this is a great way for them to give him the code name. So
Yeah.
like as he's going through the crime part of his life, eventually I think he's going to get that nickname, and then
So
he's going to have an accident.
So by the end of the sixth episode or fifth episode, he does get the name.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it comes in the content from today. So you'll probably see that episode later on today. But yeah, he gets the name today. I won't tell you what happens, but something happens and they kind of crown him as Tombstone, and he's like, yeah, I kind of like that. So yeah, you can see he's kind of falling
Like
into
fitting in.
place. Yeah, he doesn't like when it starts. Obviously, he doesn't want to be there, but he kind of knows he has to be there. And now it's kind of like he's kind of settling in,
Which is
and
crazy. Like you think that he would essentially be more on the side of like I really don't want to do this, but because he's I'm assuming that he becomes really good at whatever he's doing. It just becomes a taste like, oh, maybe I like this. And I like stuff like that because then it shows like, some people, although they seem so nice or so kind, they might have a side of them that's like, I could totally do something like this.
yeah. So like again, like spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, but
Yeah.
basically what happens, he's very like reluctant to get into it, and he's trying to still live his normal life. The what's his name, Big Dom or whatever, the main boss of
hmm
the gang.
Oh,
Keep
Big Donovan, I think.
Yeah, Big Don. He keeps ringing him, and he's like, I need you here. We're gonna go attack another gang or whatever. And he's like, I've got school. It's like, forget your school. You're part of the gang now. And like, he's still trying to live his old life. And then I think he's like just slowly starting to realize that he can't. He has to kind of just give it up. He's like still fighting for his scholarship, still wants to be the quarterback, still wants to be, the captain of the team. And then it's just like, Don's like, forget about this shit, bro. Like it's over. You're part of this family now. And then it kind of just keeps gradually escalating. And then, there's a big thing that happens. And then I think it kind of cements it in his head that, yeah, uh, you know, forget school. This is all over, So I think it's cool. It's really good, like kind of character progression, and it's kind of it's pretty serious. Like it's some pretty serious topics and tones going on in this show. Like and like if you're looking at it from the outside, it just looks like a real proper kind of kids style animated cartoon on Disney Plus, but it's got some real depth and yeah, it's cool. Like I think it has a 12s rating. Oh, over here, I don't know what the rating is for you guys. I think the rating systems are different numbers for you guys than it is for us, but it's just rated as 12s over here.
So
So
can you explain that a little bit for your end?
so you guys have like rated R, or like which for us is like 18s and over. So
hmm
they have like 18s. There's no rated R over here, so like 18s would be the highest rating. We have like I don't know what I might be wrong in saying this, but my understanding of like the American system is anything under rated R or even rated R. I believe if you go with like a parent or a guardian or whatever, you can get into whatever movie you want. It's the parent's decision whether you go, right? That's not the case over
Yeah.
here. So if a movie is 18s, I could like if I was 17 and I went with my dad to see a movie and my dad's like, this is my son, we want to see this horror movie or whatever the fuck. Um, they would have the right to say, produce ID to me. And if I produced ID and I wasn't 18, they'd be like, we can't let you in. And I've seen it happen. I actually saw it happen the night of Deadpool. So we were standing in the queue for food, and there was like this guy who was like really kind of rough. Like he was like a he was a really rough dude, like really like kind of hard man. And his son was standing beside him, and he had like they had like a mountain of food. Like it must have cost them like €100, I'd say. Like over $100 easily for all the food and seats and everything like that. And they're standing there, and your man's like screaming at the dude behind the till, and just like, what do you mean you're not letting him in? He's like, it's my son, like blah blah blah, whatever. He's 16, it's grand and all, like, and things like I can't let him in because it's a strictly 18s movie. Like Deadpool was an 18s movie over here. And yeah, he just was like, I want a full refund, and he was like throwing the food back over the counter and everything. It was crazy, crazy shit. But yeah, like I think over here there's like there's like G, which is like general audience that anyone can go, and then I think it goes PG, parental guidance, and then I think it goes like 12s, 15, 15A, which is like a little higher than 15s, but accompanied by the A is for like accompanied by an adult, and then they do like 16s, 18s, something like that. I think that's them all, but yeah, there's the rating system is very different over here than it is for you guys.
Yeah, we have G, PG, PG-13, R, and NC-17, which like I hardly ever see NC-17.
What's NC?
No children under 17.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, the numbers are just different, but it's kind of the same idea, I suppose, in and around. Yeah. So what was I saying there? Sorry. Yeah. So this over here, this show is rated at 12s, and yeah, it's not a very childish show. Was the point I was trying to make anyway before we kind of went off track there. But yeah, like man, I think it's fucking great. I think there's a lot of really cool character development coming out of it. I really liked how I really like the relationship between Norman and Peter. And I think when it was starting, I think I was just like, oh, okay. I kind of made a joke last week where I was like, this is Earth 617. Like it's so close to the MCU, but just a little different. And like at the start of this episode, I think it was the start of the third episode, I was just like, when he's just like, oh, I'll help you and I'll do all your gadgets and stuff like that. I was like, oh, this really is Earth 617. Like I was like, this is so close. I was like, they're basically just swapping Peter, or they're swapping Norman and Tony, but it's like the same outcome. Everything is happening the same. So I'm like, this is like so close to the universe that we know in the MCU. But then I loved how Peter was just like, I need to go and do this on my own. I thought that was like a great kind of line in the episode, because it was just like, at least he knows that he needs to do this by himself. It's something that he has to do, which I thought was a great touch. Obviously, then as the episodes go on, I don't know how much of this you've seen, but have you seen the parts where he's like trying on different suits and stuff?
Yeah. Where like things are failing because they're essentially trying different
Yeah.
costumes that may or may not work. And I think it's a cool concept because it's like, well, we don't know what kind of design you should really ultimately have.
And he
But
doesn't
like,
have to be Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man's a
right.
very new concept. So I thought it was very funny and very clever as well how, he was giving him the cape and he kind of looked like Thor, and there was all this stuff like where he looked like a fly, and they were saying that he was flying instead of like swinging the webs. They were like, Norman obviously thinking like like an inventor, just like, well, the web swinging's kind of like flying would be better, right? It's like just stuff like that where you wouldn't think of it. As a kind of Spider-Man being a new concept. Obviously to us it's not, but in that world it is. And I thought that was very, very funny. And like there was a couple of laugh out loud moments. I thought, one of them being when he got the cape caught, when he was trying to like stop the crime, and he's like, the two lads are whipping out the bats to beat the shit out of him like a pinata or something like it. He's just like, are those bats to help me get down? I was crying laughing, bro. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I think the comedy in the show is fantastic. I like, honestly, it's, and the animation and everything, which I thought was a bit ropey at the start, like it's grown on me so much. Like I don't know if it takes a little bit of getting used to or something, but or maybe it's just flowing better now as the show's going on. I must go back and rewatch it from the start just to see, but I feel like I'm adapting to the style a bit more, if that makes sense. And it honestly, Brad, like the show, each episode, it's just getting better and better and better. It's fantastic.
It
really is.
Yeah. And because this is a Disney owned project, when we go back to the capes situation and the fact that he got his cape caught on a pipe, it just screams reference to the Incredibles, where
oh yeah
yeah, and clearly states no capes.
Yeah. I didn't think of that. My mind went to Into the Spider-Verse, and where he's like, "Hey, look," like where Peter B. Parker's like, "No capes, we don't wear capes. Spider-Man doesn't
Yeah.
wear a cape." And then like when Miles first sees the suits down in the spider cave, and he's like, "Look, a cape." That's where my mind went straight away. But yeah, that's a good shout as well. Um, I took a few notes when I was watching the episodes because I had a feeling it was going to all mash together for me.
Well,
Um,
did you see the that lady with the green hair? That's clearly going to be Scorpion.
so if you haven't seen that yet, I can tell you what happens there if you want, or do you
Uh,
want to wait?
well, it's funny that you're mentioning that because I am currently watching it while we're talking.
I don't know how you do that, dude. But basically, yes, that your question will be answered soon. So just keep watching. Um, there's a couple of like other very like well-known Spider-Man villains that are coming into it as well as the show goes on, which I think again, obviously fantastic. Um, I went onto IMDb because I was like, I wonder what the show is like rating. I'm just out of curiosity because like in my mind it's very strong, but I went onto IMDb and it's like 6.2 or something. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, holy shit, what the hell are people hating this for? But then when I went in and was like looking at the episodes like one by one, they were getting like sevens and stuff, and I was like, man, maybe that's fair. The new episodes, they were so new at the time that there's no ratings for them yet. But I
Mhm.
caught a glimpse at some of the names of the rest of the season, and episode 6, which airs next week, is called like Duel with the Devil. So,
Mm.
you know, pretty obvious what's going to happen there, but I think that's pretty cool. Like I think,
Mephisto? No, just kidding.
yeah, definitely. Everyone's going to be thinking it's going to be Matt Murdock, and then imagine, yeah, it's Mephisto instead. Love it, love it. Yeah. Oh man, like I don't know, like I I'm giving this show a lot of praise because it's kind of blowing my mind at how much I'm enjoying it. Like I wasn't expecting this out of it at all. Um, so even some of the drawings of some of the villains that are coming into it, like it's like real kind of comic book accurate slash kind of some of the other animated series that we've seen already, like accurate, which is crazy. And just again, I like the kind of multiverse spin on things, like the female lizard, you know, there's Scorpion as well. Like it's a bit of a different take as well. Like it's kind of nice to have some refreshing takes on some of these characters, but then it kind of just like defaults and flows back into the kind of Spider-Man vibes very quickly, and you
Yeah.
kind of feel comfortable and at home straight away. Um, Same with like Harry Osborn's character. Like he's kind of like Ned in this. It's like a real mix between Ned and Harry, because like he's like, I don't know if you've seen this yet, but basically Norman is like, Harry finds out who Spidey is, and
Mhm.
Norman's like, I want you to work with Harry because I'm a busy man, I can't be around all the time. And like Harry's like, oh yeah, cool. Like, and Harry's like famous, like he's like Instagram famous or something. So like everyone's like, oh my god, it's Harry Osborn and all, like, and he's like a kind of social media influencer or something like that.
Mhm.
But then obviously him and Peter start hanging around, but like he's like, oh, I'll be your guy in the chair, and it's like very kind of Ned slash Peter stuff. So it's a real different take, but kind of the same at the same time. Like obviously, when I think of Harry Osborn, I think of James Franco's Harry Osborn. He's like kind of like my main Harry, um, or the one from the '94 comic. And
Mhm.
both of those Harrys are very different, and this new Harry is like very different as well. Like obviously the Harry that we know from like Tobey Maguire's movies, like he's kind of a loser, like Peter is in school. Like the two of them are kind of losers together, and that's what kind of bonds the friendship. Like obviously Harry's rich and he's got his rich dad and stuff, but he's not popular. He's not cool. He's not kind of famous or anything like that. Like people are just like, oh, who's the rich loser or whatever. Like look at Daddy's money over there. Like it's like kind of that's the way he is. But in this, he's very different. So it's kind of cool. It's refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really into it.
Well, and I love the perspective difference between both Peter and Lonnie, because the designs for the two are essentially mirrored. You have someone who's being mentored by basically like a genius, so genius with genius, kind of creating that line of like, okay, I can make all the gadgets and tech for you, and like unleash your potential essentially.
Yeah.
Um, and then you have Lonnie, who ends up joining the crime syndicate, like for with Big Donovan, and you see how it's a mirror essentially. Like the dude doesn't trust him, but at the same time, like he demands loyalty from him before he does anything in particular to maybe like boost him up, which I think is really cool. And plus, Lonnie doesn't seem like the type that asks for help. So
No.
because he's not asking for help, he's essentially dooming himself to the point where like he's gonna run into Peter and they're gonna have a scuffle, and then shit's gonna happen. He's gonna change into his actual like villain like persona,
Yeah.
and then he's gonna probably blame Spider-Man for it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It's kind of like um kind of get like a kind of Joker creation kind of vibe off it, like, something like an accident will happen, but obviously Spider-Man will try and save him but can't. And then
Mhm.
yeah, it's kind of like a mix of the Harry story as well, of him not saving Norman in time or whatever, and then creating that kind of villain arc with Harry and Peter.
Yeah.
So I kind of
So
like the way they're doing that. They're kind of mixing up like different kind of origins and kind of changing things, but keeping it refreshing.
well, I do like that Norman was like, I picked for like these group of people,
Yeah,
including you,
yeah,
because you were all in line to be like either associated with Spider-Man or you are Spider-Man. And so like I like that concept, because then you bring together all these characters that I would say the more modern viewers or readers would come to understand, because like not very many people know Amadeus Cho. Um,
exactly. Yeah,
but like I'm really hoping that this is kind of a standing point for them to create all the origin stories to essentially establish all of these heroes, and then maybe have a few episodes where we collaborate with them, because all in all right now we're just dealing with just Peter right now and all the villains that he may run into in the future.
yeah, yeah. I think like, again, not to spoil the show, but there seems to be a Sinister Six forming quite early in the show here. Um,
Yeah.
which is cool. And I wonder, is it like, we're getting like, little like sneak peeks at characters from the Sinister Six, but I wonder, is something going to happen in the show where they actually turn around and go, "Look, we need to work together to take out Spider-Man." Like, I wonder, is that going to happen, or is it just going to be like, these guys are all in New York right now, they're all active, and if season 2 happens, we know where it's going, sort of thing. So
Mhm.
it'll be interesting to see, because again, I think we have 3 episodes again next week, and then there's 2 more the week after for the finale, which yeah, it's good. I really like the pacing of it. I like how they're releasing it. I wish they would do this more. Could you imagine if there was, like, say, the first 2 episodes of Agatha released on week 1, and then, which I think actually did happen, sorry. But then like the next week, but the next week they did, like, instead of doing like 1 then for the rest and then 2 in the finale, if they released like 2, just 2 at a time each week or something, or maybe 3 one week, and get the juices flowing. I think it'd be really cool.
Mhm.
Because I think, again, I was watching that, like, episode 3, 4, and 5 today in work when I was on like my lunch break, right? And I'm sitting down with food, and I'm watching episode 4 or 3, sorry, and I'm just like, oh, this is great. And then, like, the end credits roll, and you're just kind of like, oh, that was so good. And then it's like, next episode, like, it just rolls up, and away you go on to the next one, gets better again. We're going up and up and up, and then it's like, boom, here's the next one. Watch it again, like, straight after. So, like, I just think, they're it's doing a great job of hyping people up and just kind of getting the vibes right. Like, I would have been kind of pissed off, I'd say, if we got to the end of episode 3 and it was like, see you next week. It's like, fuck, 20 minutes. It's like, fuck. So I think they're doing a good job of pacing it well.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Especially for
Yeah.
such like short episodes. You know what I mean? Like, I think 20 minutes a
Well,
week is probably not enough.
and it's pretty cool that you essentially like run into all of these different characters like immediately.
Yeah.
They did it in the first episode. They're doing it in every single episode. They just straight up introduce more and more people, like the people in the getaway van from that heist that they just did. You can tell that the person that was the driver is clearly going to be Rhino. person on his right is supposed to be Chameleon, because his, they call him by Dimitri, and I'm like, okay, so that's probably Chameleon.
They're brothers as well.
Yeah, so
I'm
then
sorry, him and Craven are brothers. What am I saying?
well, they're half brothers or step brothers. I can't remember. But like, it's just cool that they're really setting this up to be as much of like a chaotic situation in the future for Spider-Man as possible. And then we see, like, at the end of the second or the third episode, or the fourth episode, sorry, that we're essentially introduced to Otto Octavius, or Doc Ock.
Yes, indeed.
Which I think is fucking cool. Like, it's a great way to start it up. It's like, oh, so for the people that are familiar with Doc Ock, like, they'll immediately attach to him. For the people that don't know, like, Doc Ock is essentially a kind of a mad scientist who wants to construct like these dupla arms, or these octopus variant arms, like, because he thinks that that's kind of the vision of the future, but like he doesn't have enough money to do so. So like he's, moved into a life of crime in order to succeed in his endeavors. And if you play the video games, it's a much different concept where like he's actually losing his ability to use his limbs.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's his like main scheme. But it in the standard idea of it, it's just a villain who wants to control New York by means of his technology. He believes himself to be the superior being.
Yeah. I like how Sam Raimi did him. Like he's trying to create the arc reactor or whatever it is, or the fusion reactor, and then obviously malfunctions. The arms kind of go bad, turns him into a villain. I thought I really like that. Like, that's kind of my Doc Ock. I'm kind of trying to remember, like, the 94 Spider-Man. He's just Doc Ock from the beginning. Like, when we first meet him, he's already Doc Ock. They don't really go into his origin, if I'm remembering it correctly. But again, yeah, it's cool. I like what you've said. Sounds epic. You know what I mean? Sounds really cool. Yeah, like I again, there's just, as I say, like, the more and more we watch this, the cooler it gets. And I think this will be one of those ones where, like, I'll be sad when it's gone. I really hope that the views, I don't think we've heard of any streaming numbers yet. I really hope it's going well, because I'd like to see more of it. I don't want this to be another Agatha where it's like cancelled after season 1. I'd like for it to continue and just advance and get better, and get more money into it. Maybe longer seasons. Who knows? Like, like the 90s. I know I always go back to the 90s one, but that is like the pinnacle of Spider-Man for me. That went for like 5 seasons, 5-6 seasons. You know what I mean? Like, the show could easily do the same. Like, right now, I checked it last night. The show, and this was before episodes 3, 4, and 5 aired. It was in the top 10 in Ireland, which I didn't see that for Skeleton Crew at all. It was for Skeleton Crew. What was the other show we were watching? Oh my god, what was the show we were watching?
Before Spider-Man?
We were watching something on Disney Plus, and I was saying it wasn't even in the top 10. I can't remember now. But look, there was something else. I think it was Marvel related. A show that came out. Oh, What If? What If season 3?
Oh yeah, What If?
Yeah, so What If, like, wasn't even in the top 10 on Disney Plus, which, should be alarm bells. We know it's the final episode anyway, but the fact that this show, again, after 2 episodes in Ireland, is like, I think it was number 3. It was top 3. So I'd be curious to see now tomorrow, when the new episodes have kind of settled a little bit more. Is it going to jump to number 1? I'll have to check tomorrow just to see. But yeah, it's good. That's a good sign, because you know what I mean. Like, if the likes of What If isn't even reaching the top 10, no one's watching it here. Could be different, obviously, in America and other parts of the world, but I'd love to see the show do good. I think, the guys have done a great job. These guys are behind X-Men 97 as well. Like, and obviously that was a monster hit, in my opinion. And I believe we're absolutely getting season 2 for that. So, yeah, fingers crossed. I'd love to see more of this. I don't want this to end after 9 episodes. You know what I mean? Like, it's over in 2 weeks' time. And I would hate for that to be the end of it, because I'm really loving it.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see this show, like, it really, I guess it really depends on how many how often people are fatigued right now with everything that's occurred with Disney Plus and all the shenanigans that they pulled with these different shows. And it's kind of funny to me how there was so much praise for Agatha and yet it gets canceled. So like
Yeah,
clearly, although
weird.
people found it to be interesting, or some people actually liked it, or some people found it to be inspiring to other people, or like it just didn't hit the numbers. And
Yeah,
it goes to show
fair.
you like you can't just hit one demographic.
Yeah.
You have to appeal to everyone as best as possible, or just appeal to the people, the moviegoers and the comic readers. Just give them action, give them something to chew on, like give them something to actually find a proper perspective for like villains and heroes, because that's the whole idea about comic book um comic book movies, comic books.
Yeah.
It's getting into a world, running into a hero, having him or her like have some sort of endeavor against a villain that maybe they have wronged by accident,
Mhm.
and just showing like this kind of connection between them. So like it's just this weird concept that people have, or not people, but like that the industry seems to have, thinking that they need to have some sort of like emotional standpoint from the get-go, when honestly the emotion comes from how much time and effort has been done to try to save someone, or try to save someone from themselves, essentially. um,
Yeah.
and to show like there are good people in this world, but there are also bad people, but there's bad people that can be changed back to good. And so like it creates like this nice story. We love that kind of stuff. Like I don't think we've ever really gotten out of that formula for some of the really good movies.
Man, this might sound like a hot take, but I think they need to, and I think they are starting to do this, but I think they need to just go back to pleasing the core audience. And
Yeah.
then if they want to add in stuff after the fact that, appeals to the smaller minorities of the fan base that, they think that they need to impress over everybody else. Again, I don't want to say anything out of line here, but it seems like common sense to me that if say 90% of the fan base just want comic book adaptations, just do it. You know what I mean? Like it's plain as day business. You know what I mean? Like if I know how to do a good story that's gonna keep like 90% of the fan base happy, why would you not make that priority one? And
Yeah.
then if you want the other 10% who have to have, representation and all this sort of stuff, like do that. What like obviously focus on that as well, but don't make that the core kind of development idea of the show, because as we've seen in the last couple of years, that shit doesn't work.
Hmm.
Because, if you want to make 10% of your fan base happy, that's great, but you can't neglect the 90% that always show up, because as we've seen, they're not showing up, they're leaving.
Hmm.
So, you know what I mean? Like they just go back to making the basic stuff that makes sense. And then once you've kind of got that base level, adapt it from there. Like, I mean, like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I just don't understand why. Like, me and you could probably sit in front of a blank piece of paper and write out a great idea for anything, a movie, TV show, anything like that. And I'm guarantee it would do better than anything that's been put out in the last 2 years.
Right.
Like, and the fact that Agatha is like their number one show when nobody watched it, it's like, how was it number one? What made that number one? Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense to me. They're like, it feels like Hollywood have an agenda at the moment, and they're trying to push stuff to the front line without even just looking at core numbers and statistics. And it's just, I don't know, bro. It's
It,
just,
it,
it just feels like they need to reset, bro. It needs to go back.
yeah, it's a difficult situation, and I know like it's something that we need to tiptoe around once in a while, like, but all in all, I think it has to do with the fact that like I don't think the story writers understand what um a good hero villain story is anymore, because they see what is happening currently in the modern days, and
Yeah.
they think that um coming up to the modern, I guess, political correctness of things and emotions of the people, is the most important thing. But if you watch movies or you see the ratings for different movies, you can tell that that's not the case. The case is that when we go see a movie, we want to see a really good movie that has a character that you don't know from the beginning, but by the end of the movie, you feel for them and you understand them and you feel like you can relate to something to them. Like it's kind of like I haven't watched Interstellar yet, but I know what happens. For the most part, like it's a really good concept where you have the main character essentially realizing he went through so much and basically missed a lot, and people have a fear of that. People very much have a fear of like missing out on everything that occurs around them in life. And when you throw that in, like that's fucking cinema. That's theater. That is good shit.
Yeah.
When you give me Agatha, and it's all this emotional get up of like, you fucked us over, and I don't know why you fucked us over. We don't really learn until like near the end of the series why. I mean, that's cool and all, but like, you don't give us a reason to like Agatha because she's such a dickhead throughout the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care for her. When you gave me Jennifer Walters, like in She-Hulk, I really enjoyed the first few episodes because it really felt like it was going to be She-Hulk. Like it was going to be Jen Walters turning into She-Hulk, maybe fighting crime here and there. Can't really deal with a case here, but decides to take care of it in the evening. Fighting with the Wrecking Crew, I thought that was going to be a cool concept. But then, like, as you get further along down the line, it's like, I'm lonely. I don't have a date. I don't have someone to be a couple with, and it's like, are you kidding me? Like, that's not Jen. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand that. And then like you get, other, like you get What If, and What If has like all these different concepts and whatnot, but then they want to fill it in with like jokes and rhetoric and like all these different things that just don't feel genuine to these characters anymore, because all they want to do is crack a joke every 5 fucking minutes. And it's so like disappointing. It's almost discouraging because we like Tony. I feel like Tony is the only one. Tony and Peter are the only two, in my opinion, that get a real pass at being able to do quips all fucking day. They could do quips all day. I wouldn't give a shit because that's who they start out to be. That's who they are from the get-go. When you have Alexei constantly talking about Russia, when you have like these different, like, these different moments where it should be serious, and then you have Alexei going, ha ha, in Russia, this, it's like, oh God, like you're really stereotyping now.
Yeah.
And like even the stereotyping can be a little bit funny at times, but it's too much. It's not giving us enough to care about this character anymore. It's like, I like Yelena, but now it's become a bit of an annoyance because she's basically typecast as this character that's like, I'm always sarcastic and I'm always doing this, I'm always, thinking ahead because I am a Black Widow. And it's like, cool, but like, you had a good past with the actual Black Widow with oh my God, with Natasha. Mm-hmm. And it like, it worked well, it did well. And now that she's gone, all you have is Alexei to kind of bounce off of, and he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of tired of that. Like, we have enough of those characters. Let's have some more serious characters. That's why I like Cap so much, because Cap is like, like there are tiny moments where, because he lived in the past and he never got to experience like the years, remember in the movie, he's like, hi, I got that reference. Like, I love that. Like, it was cool because it's like, it's a callback to his persona, to his origin.
Yeah.
When you do callbacks to people's origins, it makes it so much more lively. It's like, oh my God, that's funny. Like, I totally forgot that he doesn't live in these modern times.
Yeah.
So like, it's all in that perspective. Like you get to know the character, you understand what they believe in, you understand what kind of endeavors they have, and then you see how they overcome those endeavors. And when you don't have that formula, especially for a hero, it's a shit show. That's what Agatha felt like. It just felt like a shit show. Like, I didn't know who the fuck Agatha was. I didn't care because they didn't give me time to know her.
Yeah.
They gave me time to know the coven that she formed out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It just didn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I think they're more focused on like, I'm just saying this. I don't like believe this or anything, but they're just focused on representation more than storytelling. Like,
Which
that
is
just, it's bananas, bro. Bananas. Because
like
you have 85 years of comic books just sitting there. The fucking, like, like, it's all there. The stories are there. Just tell them. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be no comic book fans, or very, very few, like a handful of comic book fans that would turn around and say, "Oh, that's lazy. That was in the comics." That's what everyone wants. Like,
yeah.
you hear this all the time. Like, people were talking about, and just to kind of slide very slickly into the next topic, which is the Fantastic Four trailer. But people were talking about Ben Grimm online. I was watching it on Twitter today, and like, it's like some people were giving out because it's like he's too comic accurate. Excuse me? Like, what the fuck? Is that not what we want? Like, do
Right?
you know what I mean?
Like, that's so dumb.
Yeah, it's like, that's always the argument, because if it goes the other way and he doesn't look comic accurate, then everybody's like, it doesn't look comic accurate. So it's like, what
Right.
the fuck do you want? Do you want it to be comic accurate, or do you not? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I think more people want it to be accurate than they don't. I think there's some people out there that are like, do something original, do something new. It's like, you're telling a story about a comic book that was written in the fucking 60s. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
obviously, they're going to refer back to the source material because it worked. They've been making those comic books for fucking 70 years now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It works. Like, so obviously when they create a character and they copy it from the comic book, like, it's like the source material works. Let's just recreate it. And most of the fan base like that. But like, where are we going here? Like, where the goalposts keep moving. You know what I mean? Like, again, people gave out about Henry Cavill because he wasn't comic accurate as Superman. He was too dark. He was too evil. And then, like, James Gunn goes, "Okay, guys, I heard you. Let's do the good boy. The Boy Scout Superman. The fucking red trunks and everything." And now everyone's giving out about that. It's like, what the fuck do you want?
Yeah, you're never going to satisfy everyone, but the best
Yeah.
way I would put it is that you just go based on the source material, and if people have a problem with that, you need to tell them, shut the
Refer,
fuck up.
yeah,
We're going to
refer to the
go, we're
source
going to keep,
material.
yep, look at what we've got, shut the fuck up. We're going forward with that. And you know why? Because it fucking works. When you think about Game of Thrones, can you imagine in Game of Thrones if they decided not to use like most of the material there? I know that they've changed quite a bit of stuff. Like they've kept some characters alive, they've killed some characters off, they created new characters and kind of wrote them in. But that's because they were able to kind of make that source material and then just kind of mold it a little bit, because they're like, you know what, this would actually fit better for what we're trying to do. And so that's how you work with a good story. You take what's already good, you kind of go, well, we can't really do that for movies, right? Or shows. Let's see what we can kind of get away with, and let's try to make it, like, maybe turn it up a notch here and there, maybe turn it down here. And people fucking ate up Game of Thrones, and I didn't hear a fucking word about them going like, oh shit, it doesn't follow the source material. Oh,
Well,
Catelyn Stark's supposed to be a fucking zombie. It's like, are you,
yeah. A great, and that is a good. And the reason why the point you've made there and like the example that you've used works so well is because for the first 6 seasons they followed the source material and had the creator of the books on set, who was like kind of co-writing and make, like, stamping the approval of the changes that they were making for the TV show. And that was for the first 6 seasons. And then you can see it clear as day after George R.R. Martin left, the show just completely changed. When they went off on their own and started doing it themselves, the show just plummeted. It went straight downhill. And like, it's just funny because it's like, that's a prime example of use the source material or refer back to the creator. And this is the problem that Star Wars are having right now, because they're trying to go off and they're trying to do their own thing without George Lucas. Like, Lucas wrote the sequel trilogy for them, gave it to them in a fucking gold like treasure chest. There you go, guys. There's your next fucking trilogy. I've done it for you. Just go and make it. Get some good directors and go and do it. There it is. And like, that's like taking the word of God and just like the creator and just going, actually, no, you know what? We're going to just fuck that away and we're going to do our own thing. And that's exactly what they did, and it didn't work. You know what I mean? And then you have people like Dave Filoni and stuff coming in who work so closely with George. And then again, they go and make stuff that's more Star Wars. It feels like more Star Wars because what are they doing? They're using the source material. They're getting the stamp of approval from George himself. And
Hmm.
boom, off to the races we go. So, like,
Easy pickings.
easy money, bro. Easy money. There's billions and billions to be absolutely just taken out of people's pockets so simply. And they just, I don't know, they're allergic to making money. I don't get it. It's insane. You know, I feel like James Gunn is trying to kind of do something like that. I think he's trying to work with source material and like kind of take things back to basics. And I think, you know, he's going to really try it with DC now. Again, there's a big chunk of the DC fan base who, even if the movie is great, they're still going to boycott it because they're Zack Snyder fans, they're Henry Cavill fans, all that sort of shit. You know, that's
Right.
just that's part of the fan base, and there's no getting away from it. But you know, if say 20% of the fan base are just going to hate it automatically, fair enough. But if they can satisfy 60 of that other 80%, I think that's an absolute win. You know,
Yeah,
and
I agree with that.
same with Star Wars. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you're not going to make everybody happy. There's George Lucas fanatics out there that will just not like anything because it's not George's Star Wars. Like, they refer to it as George's Star Wars. You know, Clone Wars in the first 6 movies, that's Star Wars. Everything outside of that is not really Star Wars. There's fans out there that believe that and will die on that hill, and they won't watch anything after episode 6. That's fair enough, you know, and you're entitled to that. You know, I think there, you know, the sequel trilogy has a lot of more flaws than it does good, but there was some good moments in it. Mando's good, you know. I kind of like where they're going, like what Dave's doing with like Ahsoka and stuff like that. And you know, I think there's a lot of there's a lot of good happening in Star Wars. There's a lot of shit happening as well, but there is a lot of good too, and there's a lot of promise. So
Mm.
you know, I'm not just kind of going to step away because George did. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many people out there that like just because George sold it, they left as well. I think that's a bit silly. You know what I mean? Like, George is in his 80s now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even if he didn't sell it, he was gonna have to give it up soon anyway. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, and who would he have probably given it? He probably would have given it to Dave anyway, because Dave was kind of his number two in his last years in Lucasfilm anyway. So it's kind of naturally kind of fallen to where it was going to go anyway. It's just obviously Disney are to have their hands in the pot too much. But
Hmm.
you know, that's a different complaint, I suppose.
Yeah, such a pain in the ass, man. Like it would be so much easier if they could just go to the source material and just use it instead of
Yeah,
like instead of skimming it and going, yeah, we'll figure it out.
yeah. Andre in the chat, just for anybody who might be listening to this, says he never watched Game of Thrones. Says he'll promise to watch Game of Thrones when I finish One Piece. That's never gonna happen, bro.
It's never
If you're
gonna
talking about,
happen.
it's never gonna happen. I'm sorry. Like, I just there would need to be a miracle for that to happen. Now, when they release like the remastered show or the remake show or whatever they're gonna do, I'll check that out because you know it's a natural kind of jumping on point, and I really like the live action. But going back and watching like from episode 1 and watching like almost what 1,200 episodes or 1,100 episodes, whatever it is, like
Hmm.
it would take me years to do that, and I would need, I don't know, I'd need to like really fall in love with it to put in the time.
Yeah.
I just
So
don't see I just don't see that happening personally. But you never know. Never say never.
yeah, it's just I mean, like I tell people all the time, you know, anybody who says that they like it's basically the same thing that they've said in the SpongeBob episode about Squidward never having a Krabby Patty. So it's the
Yeah.
only people who say that they've never liked One Piece or will never watch it or like have never tried it.
People who haven't done it, yeah.
Yep.
And like, you're not the only one who I've heard say that as well. Like, I've heard many people say this online, like, you know, didn't even think that they would like it, and when they actually give it a go, it's incredible. And yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those ones where it's like standing at the base of like Mount Everest and just going, "Oh my god!" Like, looking up, just like, "Oh my god!" There's so much to get through. Like, it's such an adventure. It's such a big journey. Like, I'm just the thoughts of it. But I don't know. Like, maybe, you know, maybe my daughter loves anime when she's a bit older, and maybe I'll just sit and watch it with her or something. Like, you never know. You never know. I
Yeah.
would prefer to be sitting and doing that than watching, you know, other shit that kids watch. You know what I mean? Like, I'd prefer to
Right.
be watching something that we could both enjoy. So you never know. Maybe that happens. So we'll see. Who knows? Um,
Hopefully.
Yeah, talk to me about the Fantastic Four trailer. What did you think? Because I watched it. I watched it last night live on my channel, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to actually talk to Alex about this tomorrow because I'm curious of your thoughts. Tell us all.
Well, I think it's a very interesting teaser. I do find it interesting that we have these characters that somewhat have a different face about them compared to like the comics, which it's always going to be a different take. And I think that that's always like a breath of fresh air. I've always said it before, like when you do live action versus like animated, you should really just keep them separate, have different voice actors for the animation, do real actors for for the live action. And even if they're separate or maybe if they're related in some way, like that's kind of a cool concept, just to be able to like perpetuate things and keep them moving forward. That being said, like they have comic accurate suits, they have comic accurate thing. His voice isn't necessarily like full on what I thought it would be, but I think it's a cool idea to kind of not put him in that category of like, oh, he's made of rock, so we're gonna do the gruff rock sound. Um,
Yeah,
or maybe they will. Maybe it's just that in the trailer that they kept it kind of like hidden.
yeah.
And we, who knows? But
I was listening to the Den of Nerds talking about this today, and he was doing like a full breakdown of the teaser and kind of caught a few things that I didn't notice in the trailer as well. But if you watch my first reaction of the trailer, one of the first things I said was the second I heard him talk, I just thought of Richie from The Bear straight away. Obviously, you know what I mean. And he's in the kitchen and he's cooking and stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, yeah." I just felt like we were watching The Bear. I think like I literally, as it happened, I was like, "Cousin." Like, it was just The Bear. So,
yeah.
but as you watch it more, you kind of see that it seems like there's a time jump within the movie because Sue's hair grows very long, and Ben looks really small for most of the trailer. Like there's the part at the end of the trailer where they're all lined up, like they all look like they're the same height. And I know he's taken a bit of a step back, so maybe if they were standing shoulder to shoulder, he would be taller. But there's screenshots from the trailer where it looks like they're in a different time, whether it's years in the I presume it's years in the future.
Mhm.
Um, but he looks like he's a lot bigger, so maybe he's continuously growing because I know one of the big complaints that I heard online was like the voice actor who plays him. I'm going to call him Richie. I think what's his name, Ebon or something. His real name.
Oh, I can't remember his name.
He's got a
I,
very strange name. But
yeah.
I think it's Ebon. But he obviously has such a distinct voice. I can only picture Richie from The Bear when I'm listening to him talk. But I saw someone in the comments on the main video just going, I can't picture this dude saying it's clobbering time. It just doesn't. It would seem so off, and they're 100% right. But what Josh was making the point too was like he seems to be kind of getting bigger and more jacked looking, and maybe the voice deepens up as he starts to grow and gets bigger. So
Yeah,
maybe
maybe.
by the end of the movie, he is more like the Ben Grimm that we know, and maybe he will start doing stuff like saying it's clobbering time or whatever. Knowing the MCU and how they kind of like tell these stories, like I'm sure he'll probably say it as a joke or something.
Mhm.
And then maybe like, they'll be like, hey, that kind of sounds cool. Like maybe that'll be your catchphrase or something. And then maybe he'll just like start saying it then. You know what I mean? It
You,
just
you know
doesn't.
what? You know what, Pinto?
That's
It's
exactly what's going to happen.
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
what?
Yeah.
Wait, what did you
Say,
say?
say that
It's
again.
no, I was
Yeah.
saying it's fantastic.
Say that one more time.
Guys, I
Yeah,
think I
that's
have an
so
idea
cheesy.
for our team.
Credits, cinema. Bro, that movie is so fucking bad. I watched that film once and I promised I will never watch it again. Like it is just
It was so
awful.
bad.
It was so bad. So bad. Like, you know, Sue Storm is like, in comics, like she's well known for being like ridiculously beautiful in comics in every like form. And like obviously, we had Jessica Alba playing her. She's beautiful. Vanessa Kirby, very good looking as well. That 2015 version, like I didn't even like the girl who they got to play her in that version. Like they couldn't even get Sue right. Like it's like just get a good looking woman to play her. Like I not obviously shit on this actress or anything, but it's like Vanessa Kirby and like Jessica Alba, like they're kind of just beautiful. Like there's no kind
Mhm.
of two ways about it. Like, they're beautiful women. Like, whereas it's not it's not like it's just universal beauty. Like, it's hard to dispute. And I think like even in that movie, I just don't think that they couldn't have got the cast any worse for that film for the most part. I think like your man Miles Teller is a much better actor now than he was back then when he got cast. So like, the read didn't even work. I love Michael B. Jordan. I think he was the best part of that film. Like, he was the best casting in the film.
Oh yeah.
And again, obviously that was controversial at the time because it's like Johnny's always been a white blonde guy. And it's like now they got a black guy playing him, but it fucking worked. He was brilliant. You know what I mean? He has that charisma, and that's the main point of Johnny
Yeah.
is like charisma. He's just like he knows he's good looking. He's a womanizer. He's got the charisma. He's just a cocky motherfucker. That's Johnny Storm. And that was the best part of that film was just the fact that Michael B. Jordan could do that, And then
Mhm.
obviously Chris Evans did it beautifully in the first movie. I don't know the thing I am kind of most kind of shook about in this new movie is I like your man Joseph Quinn. I just don't think he has that kind of sex appeal. I don't think he has that kind of charisma and just the cockiness and everything like that. Maybe again we haven't really seen anything. We've just kind of seen him standing around and flame on and all this shit, but we haven't actually seen him be Johnny yet. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's the part that kind of worries me the most. Is like I don't know if that was the correct casting. Now I say this multiple times on the cast, but I trust the process. I think Marvel know what they're doing when it comes to casting. It's very rare that they do shit casting in the MCU.
Mhm.
So, I'm going to trust the process. I'm sure he did a great like audition and they've seen something in him that they know it works or whatever. Or whichever way they tell the story, maybe he isn't like charismatic and stuff. Maybe they just do a different Johnny, but it works. And I think there was a interview before the trailer launched, and Vanessa Kirby said, like, the chemistry between all four of us is insane. Now, again, she could just be saying this could be a marketing thing, but even just the way they kind of stand around and all together, it does feel like the four of them gel well and work well together. So
Mhm.
they've said themselves, we feel like a family on set. We feel like it feels right, it feels natural, and that's obviously great. But, will it translate to the general public on the screen? Because they do need to feel like a family, and
Right.
that's Johnny's main thing is that he's like, he's a sex symbol. He's a like, all the women want to be with him. You know what I mean? Like that's the character. That's who he is. And I think, for Joseph Quinn, it's going to be, big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
So we'll
Exactly.
see. And obviously, a lot of people don't like Pedro Pascal as Reed. Again, yet to be seen. The bits I saw of him, I liked. I love his voice. I think he has a great voice. So like listening to him narrate and stuff through the teaser, I thought was great. We didn't see any of his stretching powers. Like we saw everybody else's powers in the trailer, but we didn't see him stretch at all, which I thought was a bit strange. We kind of just saw him working on his blackboard or whatever. So maybe we see
Mhm.
like the mind rather than the powers, because I know obviously his mind is his greatest weapon, but it would have been nice to see him stretch or do something. I thought when the big blackboard came out, I thought we were going to see the arm like stretch across to the other side of the room or something.
Well,
Like that could
and
have been
it
so easy.
yeah, but like thinking about that now, maybe that's their move. Like they're not showing you anything because that's going to be like the big point that they're going to bring when they actually have the character stretch.
Yeah,
Because like maybe it's a feat that they're proud of and they don't want you to see it until the movie comes out.
yeah, yeah, maybe.
Because like I'll be honest, like stretching in movies probably still doesn't look that great CG wise,
No,
especially during the day.
yeah, I think like it's goofy no matter what. Like I've
Yeah.
never seen it done well. Like sorry, I've never seen it look real. It's always
Yeah.
looking silly and stuff. But I think that's part of the joke and part of the fun. Um, but yeah, look, we'll see how they do it. Maybe they manage to make it look really real or something. I don't know. Like I saw some people in the comments like kind of like joking about it, like, oh, do they not have enough budget to put some CGI stretching in or something? Like it's like
Who
everything
knows,
had to go
man?
into the flame on and into to Ben Grimm as well. Who knows?
Yeah, I
Griffin,
mean, because if you think about it, like with She-Hulk, they literally said like we didn't have the budget to
yeah, they
to work
couldn't
on
do what
this.
they
We were
wanted.
working on we were working on Wakanda Forever.
Insane, bro. Insane. Griffin the chat says there that he's never seen that one to this day. I presume he's talking about the Fantastic Four, the 2015 one.
That's
Um,
fine. Don't worry
yeah,
about it.
don't waste your time. Um, if anything, it would be cool just to watch some of like maybe like Michael B. Jordan's best scenes if you can. Like I'm sure someone's probably chopped out the best bits of the movie and put it on YouTube or something like. But
Mhm.
Jesus, yeah, you can skip that movie. It's probably saved 2 hours of your life. Um, what was I going to say?
What they did to Doctor Doom was just the worst.
Criminal, man, absolutely criminal. He looked dreadful. It was awful. It was awful. Did you notice I actually only saw like a kind of meme today where they were kind of putting the three teams together, and it was like 2005 we got the original movie with Chris Evans and stuff. 2015 we got the failed one, and now 2025 is this one. Like so, every 10 years there's been a new Fantastic Four family. Kind of
Hey,
interesting that it's like 10 years on the dot. Like every 10 years, boom, 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 reboot,
um,
reboot, reboot.
well, I mean, they do it a lot for Batman. So like, no, I don't
Oh yeah,
know within that cadence, but like it definitely feels like it's a rough start for them. And so I
yeah,
think now they're really trying to get these like main characters or these known characters settled in on who they are and what they represent within the MCU. So like we'll see how this unfolds, like how they get their powers, because it sounds like they do go out into space and they get it.
yeah.
Hopefully, like it's not like like goofy. It's a bit
Mhm.
closer to like the comic accuracy of it. Which I don't remember what the zone is called, but it's like this cosmic energy that like hits them, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's like a solar flare hits their ship, and that like energy, like radiation or whatever, that energy gives them their powers. And
Yeah.
obviously, Doom's on the ship with them and gets his powers as well. So like, I wonder, are they going that comic accurate? Are they hiding Doom? Like, are we gonna get Doom in the movie as well? And they're just not showing him in
Well,
the trailer. Like
well, go ahead.
we've kind of heard through the grapevine that we are going to see Robert Downey Jr. in this movie. It's his first appearance as Doom is going to be in this film. So whether it's just in an after credit scene where we just kind of see him sitting at a desk or something like that, and it's 20 minutes work for Robert Downey Jr. and 3 or 4 million paycheck, but I don't know if he's going to be like in the movie. Like I don't think so. Although they seem to be churning this movie out very quickly. Like I think it only finished production there just before Christmas.
Hmm.
So, and if I'm not mistaken, that was after the fact when they announced Robert Downey Jr., right? So it's like Downey could be in this movie in a big capacity. It's very possible. I just don't think that he is, but maybe I'm wrong. Like that would be such a cool surprise if it
Yeah.
turned out that he had like a pretty big role in the movie. Like I think everybody is kind of guessing that he's going to be in an after credit scene, mid credit or after credit scene, which makes a lot of sense because again, this movie I only heard this today. This is the last movie before Doomsday, so it's like there's a lot of kind of events that have to happen this year in film to lead into Doomsday. Because it would kind of be shit if we go into Doomsday, which is like, the next Infinity War, big, massive Avengers level threat and so on. And we don't really get a build up. So, like, I feel like there's a lot that's going to need to happen this year with between Captain America 4, Thunderbolts, this movie, Fantastic Four. There's that they're the last kind of three big blockbusters that need to kind of tie up everything
Hmm.
before we head into Doomsday. And then I think Doomsday is going to happen, and then we're going to have like Spider-Man 4 and then Secret Wars. So yeah, I don't know, bro. Like there's a lot that kind of like to think where we were on the lead up to Infinity War, like how much connective tissue was out there, how many projects were there, how many movies kind of linked in together, and then it just kind of the big event kicked off. It's mad to think that the big event is kicking off next year and nothing is really connecting right now. It's a weird place to be. It's a really weird place to be. And if you think about it, this movie, Fantastic Four, is in a different universe, just like Deadpool 3. It's not
Hmm.
really MCU. Like it's under the banner of MCU, but it's not in 616. We're in different universes here. And what is Galactus gonna cause an incursion event, and then they teleport into the 616 somehow or some shit, or end up a battle world or something. I don't know. I think we might be getting to a stage where projects are going to end with like universes being destroyed or something, and then like we just see people just all dropping onto battle world and getting ready for doomsday or something. I really don't know, but I think they need to start connecting it again quickly. Maybe they start that next week. We've got Cap 4 coming out next week. Did you book tickets?
Oh
Are you
yeah,
gonna go
of
see it?
course I did. Oh yeah.
Did you book it for the 14th? Are you going on Valentine's Day or
No, I'm going on the 13th.
13th? Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So I can't do the midnight showings anymore. Like it's coming out on like midnight for us. So I just booked tickets for Valentine's Day. So we're gonna have a nice romantic date going to see Captain America 4.
Hey, it's not a bad thing in my opinion. Like I think that's fine.
I do as well. Like, and like the tickets were expensive and everything, and I'm
It
like, I'm treating you to an expensive night out. But like,
well, and if
she
if she
she
if she really had a problem with it, I'm sure she would tell you.
she doesn't. She doesn't. She loves going to the cinema as well. Like, and to be
Yeah.
honest, we've two young kids, and any time to ourselves is a gift these days. So, even if we just got a couple of hours to ourselves to do nothing, that's a date night for us.
Hmm.
So, yeah, we're gonna go to the movie. Like, bro, I don't know what it's like for you guys over there, but like tickets are getting so expensive. Like they keep going up. I like honestly, like I paid the most I've ever spent in my entire life, and they're always the same seats that I get. Like, you know what I mean? It's not as if I'm going to a new cinema where like, the facilities are even better than before. This is the exact same seats that I always buy, and they're just getting more and more expensive. Like I paid nearly $25 per seat just for the fucking seats, and I'm going to spend the
So,
same amount of money again on the food.
so what I usually do is like if I can get in early, the I like to do the Dolby Cinema showing because it has these recliner seats that are really comfortable.
It's a
Um,
must,
I
bro. It's a
the,
must.
the IMAX ones do not have recliners, so I'm like, screw that. But
We have it all in one. So the reclining seats, the Dolby sound, the IMAX, everything. It's all in one. Now, obviously, look, I would pay 25, 30, whatever the fuck it costs, because like movies like this are important to me, and I want to experience them and see them in the best possible experience that I can. And if that means that I'm paying stupid amounts of money, like that is what it is. But it is getting ridiculous. Like, the fact that I've spent like, because again, I booked the tickets online, so there's like a booking fee. It's almost $50 before we even get there, and then we're gonna probably spend another 30 on food when we get there. And then if we go out for dinner beforehand, do you know what I mean? It's a $200 day out. Like it's fucking crazy,
yeah,
crazy.
and for me, I actually pay extra because I don't like to sit next to anybody.
Yeah, yeah. So you're
Um,
you're booking the seat to your left or right or both.
Yep.
Yeah,
So that's what I was going to get to is that for the reclining seats, there's literally all the way in the back. If you sit all the way in the back, near the center, it's actually like a box that doesn't have
nice.
any seating whatsoever. So like if I get those seats right there, then I just need one for me, one for Katie, and then one empty spot for like, whatever.
Yeah,
And I usually just do that, and it makes for a nice setting because then if you have like popcorn or something and you don't want to hold it anymore, you can just put it on that side. If you indulge in like collector's items like buckets or
hmm you can just
soda
store all
cups or
that shit on the
whatnot,
spare seat.
just put it on the spare seat because it
Fuck yeah,
may be
dude.
full, but at least you have that spot.
Yeah.
And I do give people a chance though if they really want that spot. Like I'll get a refund, and then if that spot's open and someone grabs it, then I'm not offended by that. Like I'm just like, that's fine. You really wanted to go, you came in and you
Yeah.
grabbed the spot.
Yeah, like if I'd paid for the seat, I wouldn't give a fuck, man. If someone came to sit down, I'd be like, sorry, that seat's taken.
The
Sorry.
thing.
You know what I mean? It is, so you bought it. It is taken. I like I would never like start a fight with somebody, but like
No.
I can't stand when like most of it's rare, but sometimes it does happen where like you'll pay for a showing and it's not a very busy showing, and they just say sit wherever you want. It doesn't matter. Like they don't give you an
Oh,
assigned
that's the
seat.
worst.
Yeah, so you got to get in early to get like good seats or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, or fucking 95% of the time, it's very rare that the seats aren't allocated over here. So I know the seats I'm getting, I can tell you D11 and 12. I know exactly where I sit
Mhm.
in the screen. So if ever I walk in and there's somebody there, I'm fucking fuming. Like I'm like, get out of my seat. Like this is my seat. And like, I've like it's happened to us before in the past where it's like, someone comes in, it's like, oh, just sit somewhere else. It's like, no, because I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna get comfortable. The lights are gonna go off, I'm gonna start eating my food or whatever, and then someone's gonna come up, you're in my seat. And then I have to
Yeah,
move. You know what I mean? It's like,
exactly.
just fucking move out of my seat now so I could sit down where I sit. Otherwise, the ushers are coming over and it's going to cause a big fucking thing at the start of the film. It's like, just get out of the seat. Like, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
hop on.
Save save us
I hate
save
that
us
shit.
the
Yeah,
headache. Yeah.
exactly. Because, like, if I move somewhere else, I'm just going to have to move back. You're going to have to move anyway. Just move now. It's silly, bro. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, look, yeah, I'm kind of excited for the movie. Some of the trailers have been good. I don't know if you saw. There's been a couple of clips that have been floating around online that were released, like just some random like 1 minute clips of the movie, and they look terrible, like really bad. There's like a fight scene between Sam and some random dude, and like he's kicking the shit out of him, and it's like I don't know if this is at the very start of the movie or something, but it's like, how is Sam getting his ass handed to him by just some random thug? And he's expected in this same movie to fight the Red Hulk. Like, I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. And then there's another scene with like Harrison Ford where he's on his like I think he's on Air Force One or something, and it's just like him like pretending to work out and stuff. Like just the acting in the scene is really, really bad. So like I'm kind of just sitting there like, bro, I paid $50 for these tickets, like, and it's like, oh, is this movie gonna be ass? Like, it's like shit. I don't know. I look again. I'm just happy that MCU movies are in the cinema, and we get the date night out and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I'm going in kind of just trying to have a good time anyway. So like, even if the movie's terrible, I'm probably going to enjoy it a little bit more just because of the day that it is, the fact that we're getting time together alone, blah blah blah. Um, but yeah, like I think, and I think I said this before, but like I think with this movie, if they get like a 6, 7 out of 10, I think that's the best that they can do. Like that's the win that they like. That's the biggest win that they can expect, I think. But I just from what I've seen in those clips, like this movie, just I don't know, bro. And like with the amount of like reshoots and everything, I think they're saying like the budget's like 400 million or something, which is insane,
Jeez.
insane, bro. They need to at least double that to break even, and they're not going to double it. Like this is not an $800 million movie. I don't think. Like
No,
Harrison Ford,
no.
obviously the legend that he is, I don't think he's bringing that kind of money in himself. And I just think a lot of people just don't really care about Sam as a character, you know. So I don't know. Again, I'm going to see it no matter what, even
Yeah.
if even if like the reviews came out early and everyone was like, it's a 3 out of 10. This is absolute shit. I'm still going to see it. It's MCU, like it's Captain
Right.
America. I'm going to see it. Um, did I have something else? There was a bit of news that broke during the week. I think one of the Hollywood trades were talking about it, but they were saying that there's rumors floating around that Jonathan Majors might be getting his job back. He might be coming back to the MCU as Kang.
Good. I think that it's a good idea to do that. I think that what they did originally was kind of like, yes, I get it. Like you don't want to employ someone who's possibly going to be convicted, but like I think they jumped the gun a little too early. They should have just waited until the trial was over and that they like proceed to um go with the sentencing and whatnot after the conviction, and like
Yeah.
once the sentencing was said and done, then of course then you're good to go. But after the conviction, I think the prosecutor, like the prosecution, or the person that was basically saying that like he was the offender,
Yeah, she
rescinded
dropped it.
their,
Yeah, she
yeah,
dropped the
she
case.
dropped it. So
Yeah.
it's like what the fuck, you just defamed this guy,
Hmm.
and now he's fucked. Like you just fucked his career up. Like
Yeah.
he was literally on his way. Like he's doing well as an actor. Like he was working his way up, and like whether he did that or not is like needs to be seen in court. Like if they tell me that something didn't happen,
Yeah.
then it didn't happen. But if you feel like something did happen and you feel suspicious about it, it's like, well, what can you do?
Well,
The
like
court already said.
this might be a bit of a hot take, but I kind of don't give a shit what people do in their personal lives. You know,
Yeah.
Um, like I think there's people out there who care too much about celebrities, who care too much about, what's Ryan Reynolds doing in his life and all this shit with him and Blake Lively and all. It's like, while it's kind of it's kind of entertaining to watch, I don't really care. Like people are trying to now turn on Ryan Reynolds, and people are like Deadpool's dead. Like they're not going to make another movie now. Everyone hates Ryan Reynolds. It's like I don't give a fuck what's going on in Ryan Reynolds' personal life. You know what I mean? I want to watch a Deadpool movie, or I want to watch like a rom com with Ryan Reynolds in it, or whatever the fuck. I like Ryan Reynolds. I think he's a funny dude. Um, is he a dickhead in real life? Probably. I think like 80% of people that have money are dickheads. Do you know what I mean? So like the fact that like people are coming out and saying like, oh well, he's not really the way he is in real life. He's kind of different. It's like
Hmm.
obviously he's a fucking actor. You know what I mean? It's his job to be in the limelight to make people laugh and stuff. I don't care if he's a dickhead in real life. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's like just make good movies and entertain me. I think of these people as like tools, It's like this guy is a prop, he's a moving prop. So I don't think of these people as real people. Like I get kind of caught up in the fandom and all, as much as the next person, but I don't ever, if I ever hear about someone doing something like Jonathan Majors, for example, like if he was to have been kept on as Kang, I'm not going to boycott Kang, the character, or the movies because it's like, well, I heard he was a bit of a dickhead in real life. It's like, I don't give a fuck about that. Do you know what I mean? Most people are dickheads. Do you know what I mean?
Dude,
It's like,
Chevy Chase is apparently a
yeah.
known dickhead, but
Oh,
people
yeah.
love like Christmas Vacation, Vegas
Exactly.
Vacation. They love all those vacation movies, but you don't see anybody bat an eye to Chevy Chase after hearing all that shit, do they?
Maybe a little bit more now because again, the internet and
Yeah.
there's a lot of stories about him on Community, and his castmates have kind of said he was a bit of a nightmare to work with and stuff like that, and he's kind of dropped off a bit since then. So yeah, I think maybe in today's world more so than maybe in the past, but around the time when he was like the big Hollywood actor, I
Hmm.
think yes, people probably heard stories, or like I've heard loads of people saying like, oh, I met him and he was a bit of a dickhead, and never meet your hero sort of thing. Like, I think that's a kind of common story about him. But then when you hear like, oh yeah, he was a nightmare to work on set, I think a lot of people maybe are taking stuff like that a lot more seriously now than they would have in the past. And
Hmm.
again, it's back to the point where it's like, again, I don't give a shit if Chevy Chase is like an angry old man. I just want him to make me laugh, like that's it. Like you're a prop, bro. You're being paid to make me laugh. So fucking make me laugh. I don't care
Right.
if you're an asshole in real life because I don't give a fuck who Chevy Chase is. I just want to watch Pierce from Community or whatever. You know what I mean? Like so, and like it's the same with music as well. Like people turn on these like celebrities like in music all the time, and it's like I just want to listen to good music, bro. I don't really care what's going on in this person's life. Just
Right.
make good. If you make catchy music that I like, I'm gonna listen to it. I don't give a shit if you're in trouble with the law in real life. Like, all the boycotting shit is just crazy to me. It really is. And like I had a point to talk about Ryan Reynolds. I don't really want to get into it, but like, there's a whole thing going on with Blake Lively and co-star in one of her movies, and she's trying to sue him, and now he's coming out with a defamation thing. It's kind of like the Johnny Depp case, and it's going to be a big thing. And I think a lot of people are going to turn on Ryan Reynolds now for it because apparently he was jealous and all this crap. And it's just crazy shit. Like, it's like, man, like, I don't know. I don't know if I've said this before, but like, I would always kind of find it hard to be an actor, like, and have intimacy, like scenes with a different woman. I'd feel like I was cheating on my wife or whatever. And I don't know how people do it. Like Ryan Reynolds, for example, I don't know how he has sex scenes with other women and then goes home to his wife. Like it's very strange to me personally.
Hmm.
Some people, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's only acting, it's not real. It's like, yeah, but you are physically kissing another person and you're naked in bed rolling around with a person. Like, it is kind of real, and I think, from what's been coming out now about all this is apparently he went onto the set of one of his wife's movies and she was very intimate with somebody on set and he got a bit jealous or something, and all this shit's going on now, and it's like people are just way too invested in it, bro. It's like, come on,
Yeah.
way too invested. Like if I was married to
Ugh.
Blake Lively and she was like having sex with somebody else on camera, yeah, you'd have feelings about it, of course. But like, he goes and has sex with other people on cameras as well. Like, so You know what I mean? Like you can't really be giving out to her if you're going and doing it yourself. Like look at those Deadpool scenes in the first movie. He's getting fucked with a strap on by your own. Like it's like imagine being his wife watching that. Like it's crazy. So man,
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I just Hollywood's weird, bro. It really is.
it is. It is very weird.
Yeah, it is weird. And I think you need to be a special kind of person to be in that kind of scene as well. And people that people that aren't really part of the scene because like I think Tom Holland is a really good example. Like he's very much of the kind where like you won't see me on a red carpet unless I absolutely have to be there, and he'll only go to his own premieres or maybe some of Zendaya's, and like he won't even walk the red carpet with her because it's like it's her day. Just let her go do her thing, and I'll just be there if
Yeah,
she needs me or whatever. And then
of
he's
course.
like, I'm just playing golf and hanging around with my friends, and I'll go and do my movies. And then the second I become a father, he's like, I'm going to retire. I'm done. And like that's seems to be very kind of against the norm of Hollywood, like what he does. Whereas to me, that would kind of make sense. Like,
Right.
why would you be going to these Hollywood parties and hanging around with celebrities when you don't have to, unless you just like want to be part of the clique or whatever? I don't know. It just seems
Mhm.
strange to me. But yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a weird way to end the podcast, but yeah, I don't know. Like, do you have anything else you want to add? Is there anything? Actually, sorry, there is one thing I want to add before we go. Invincible season 3 starts tomorrow, I believe.
Oh, right, right, right.
I don't know how many episodes we're getting. I haven't really looked into it, but if it might be 1 or 2 or 3, or I don't even know. But we're eating good, bro. 2025, it has been stacked so far. Obviously, we got this Spider-Man show. We've got Daredevil coming out. We've got Invincible now. Like next week's episode of the podcast, we're gonna have Captain America 4. We're gonna have 3 more episodes of Spider-Man and Invincible to talk about.
What's going on,
Jam
man?
packed, bro. Jam packed. It is a lot all at once. Um, but yeah, I think I think we can just end it there unless you have anything else you want to add yourself.
Nope, I'm good.
Cool. Guys, I really appreciate everybody hanging out with us. If you're watching us live, thank you for hanging out here. Andre, Griff, appreciate you guys being here, dudes. And if you're watching us on a replay or listening to us on Spotify or anything like that, leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think of Spidey, of Fantastic Four, everything else. And we'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye
Take care.
bye.